welcome to one of my favourite lessons of the week. I think I say this every week, but it is actually one of my most favourite parts of the week, and it is time for our lunar lesson for this week. We are still continuing with our topic of the Victorians, and we will be travelling back in time today to learn about something new. Last lesson, we learnt all about how a very special figure tried to help during the Victorian times. And in today's lesson, we are going to know two things by the end of the lesson. We are going to know what jobs Victorian children had to do in factories, and we will also know that poor children worked and lived in really dangerous conditions, and that actually for them this was completely normal. On the screen are two pictures. One is of an old factory or mill, and the second picture is a picture of some children who are just working. They are doing their normal routine as a child during the Victorian times. Let's review. We are going to think about who this person is. During the Victorian times, children were being exploited. This means that they were not being looked after properly, and the adults who should have been looking after them were actually using them for jobs that they shouldn't have been doing. In the last lesson, we looked at this important person. I wonder if you could pause the video and just say out loud, any of the things that you can remember about him. It's okay if you've not remembered much, but hopefully you were able to say who he was. This is Lord Shaftesbury, and he knew that what was going on during the Victorian times for children wasn't okay. Lord Shaftesbury was a very important person, and he was a lord, that's the title he had, and in his job he worked in a position where he could try and change things for Victorian children. He stood up for children and young people, and he tried to speak out for them. He tried to get many laws passed to help children, and actually the people in charge did start to listen to him, but it still took a really long time. So we're not going to think about a chimney sweep today. We're going to look at another job that Victorian children had to do. Throughout today's lesson, there are some key words that I will say, and I wanted to talk about them briefly just before we start. The first key word that I might mention is this word here, abandoned. In our story today, we are going to travel to somewhere abandoned, and I'm going to talk about that place. Now, abandoned means having been deserted or left. If a place has been left and it's not in use anymore, we might say that it's abandoned. The other key word that I might mention in today's lesson is the word scavenger. And this is a job. It's a person who searches for and finds things that can be thrown away. And on the screen now is a picture. And the person that's here on the floor is a scavenger. They are searching underneath the machines for any rubbish and anything that can be thrown away. There are two more key words that I might use in today's lesson. The first one is a piecer. And a piecer is the youngest children who would work in a factory, and they were usually, this was usually their job. And piecers had to lean over the spinning machines to help to repair any of the broken threads at the top of the machines. And that little girl there is standing by a machine, and you can see that this is the top of the machine where she would have usually had to lean over and put back together any pieces of threads that had broken. And then the last key word that I might use in today's lesson is a cotton mill loom. And this is the machine that was used in a cotton mill, and it would make fabric by weaving together all of the threads. So her job as a piecer might have been to lean over this type of machine too, a cotton mill loom, to put those pieces back together. On to our story time. Take a look at the picture. Let's say that we are about to enter this abandoned factory. Abandoned means that this place has been left deserted for many years. Let's say that we are going to go in and walk around it. It's cold and dusty. Before we enter, what might we take with us? Pause the video and think about the things that you would take with you if you were about to enter this abandoned factory? I'm going to take a hard hat with me, just in case anything falls from above. I'm also going to take a torch in case we enter any rooms that are quite dark. Let's go in, and I want you to take a look at this. This is in one of the rooms in the factory. During the Victorian times, what do you think could have been made in this factory? I think cotton was made here. I think cotton was manufactured here. That means made. We are in an abandoned cotton mill, not too far away from our school. Who do you think might have worked here during the Victorian times? Do you think any children just like yourselves would have worked here? Now, we are very lucky because over in the corner, let's say that someone is here that we can talk to. The person that we're going to talk to over in the corner used to work in this place back when it was buzzing with life, just like the picture. And it was a place where this person used to work. And I've just circled her on the screen now. And we are going to talk to this little girl, and she's going to tell us what life was like working in this factory centuries ago. My name is Mary. I am 11 and I am a scavenger. Do you know what that means? I'm one of the fastest workers in this place. I run up and down under the looms in this cotton mill all day long. I'm so fast that I haven't been caught by any machinery. My best friend wasn't so fast, and he wasn't fast as me, and he certainly wasn't lucky. He lost a couple of fingers last Wednesday. I remember it because every worker had to stop as he screamed in pain. The mill owner, the person who owns the mill, was furious because he had to stop all the machines to get him free. He isn't allowed to come back now because of what he did and because he lost the mill owner lots of money. I've got a really bad cough at the moment because the dust in this factory makes it hard for me to breathe. Unfortunately, I do not have the right to go to school. My family are not wealthy. They're quite poor, and I'm old enough now to have a responsibility and to earn a living and provide for my family. Mary's just told you a little bit about what her life is like working in the mill, and I've got a video here from YouTube that I would like you to go and watch, and it's called Factories in Victorian Britain, Jobs from the Past. You can pause the video here and go and type that into YouTube if you wanted to, or I've also linked it on the Lunar channel with today's work so that you can have a little look at it. It's really, really good, and it provides us with a little bit more detail than Mary's just done. So pause my video here, go and find the link to this one, have a little watch of it, and then come straight back because I'm going to tell you some more of the story. I hope you don't mind, but I'm going to tell you a little bit about my day. Every day I get up at 5 o'clock in the morning. Where I live, we don't own a clock, so I rely on someone called a bobber to wake me up. It's a person who comes and knocks on the door and tells us that it's 5 a.m, and they do that to all of the people who live surrounding the mill. Even though at 5 o'clock in the morning I'm super tired, I have to get up and get ready for my day. Because if I haven't left the house by 5:15, I would never make it to the mill by 5:30 to start my day. If we were ever late, we would face serious consequences and punishments, and I can't do my job if I'm in pain. I walk to the mill with my brother who has a job there too. He is a piecer and he has to twist bits of broken string back together, and it's really hard work. And sometimes his fingers bleed, but he never gives up, just like me. Once I arrive at work and wash my hands, I must start right away. There are lots of us who work at this time, and all we can hear is the loud machines. My ears hurt a lot because it's really loud in here. My job as a scavenger means I have to start as soon as I get there. The looms on the machines move in and out, and I have around 20 seconds to make it from one end of the machine right down to the other. From the start of the machine right down to the end, I have 20 seconds to run along the floor and collect any bits of scraps. So on the way, when I'm running down, I collect all of the scraps from the floor that might break the machine. We can make more money if the machines work well. Once we've started our work, there is no stopping. There's a person in charge of the floor that I work on called the overseer. And if they catch us taking a break, there's a chance that we'd be punished, maybe even beaten. I work from around 5:30 in the morning, 5:30, until 7 p.m. in the evening, 7 o'clock at night. It's so tiring, but if we show that we're tired, it doesn't end well for us. The good thing is, I do get a day off on a Sunday, which is really, really nice, and that is the day that we get to go to church. You've now listened to what life was like for a child who worked in a factory or a mill during the Victorian times. Do you think if you were a child in the Victorian times, would you have liked this job? I know that I wouldn't have. Now, what I want you to do is to imagine that you are a child during the Victorian times and you work in a factory or a cotton mill. And I'd like you to choose a job. And on this line here, I want you to write that job. Now, we know that there are two jobs, a scavenger or a piecer. So you need to write the name of that job on the line. Then what I would like you to do, in the 4 columns there, the four rectangles, I want you to draw a picture of what happens in a day in their life. So for example, the first picture I would draw is what happens at 5 a.m. and that's the time that the bobber knocks on the door and wakes up the house. So at 5 a.m. I would be drawing the door to the house, and I'd be drawing somebody knocking on to wake them up and so on. And then I would draw at 5:15, I would draw Mary or me leaving to go to the mill. So I might draw a picture of the mill, the cotton mill, and the children walking to work. That's what I might do. And then the next one along, I might draw all of the machines working, all of the machinery. I'm not going to do that now because it's tricky with the mouse, but you would draw the machinery. And then finally, I would draw 7 p.m, her walking back to her house. Okay, that's what I would like you to do. And you could choose a time for this one. You could choose like 10 a.m. because she works from 5:30 in the morning straight through, doesn't she? So maybe around 10 a.m. she's probably still working hard on the machinery. I wanted this activity to be fun and creative, so I would like you to draw your pictures as detailed as possible, add some colour too, and make sure that if you've forgotten any of the story, you go back on this one and have a little listen. You could also go and play the YouTube video again, couldn't you, and have a listen again to what life was like for those children too. Lovely listening, everybody, and in next week's Lunar lesson, we'll be finding out a little bit more about what it was like for different children during the Victorian times. Have fun!